Hi all, welcome to BIAS Academy. Science and Technology audio notes for prelims and mains, Unit 4, Part 3, Chapter 1. Part is India's nuclear power programs, and the topics covered are atomic energy program, nuclear fuel cycle, nuclear reactors and types, three-stage nuclear power program, applications of nuclear energy, nuclear fusion and tokamak reactors. After that, International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor or ITER. Next is nuclear fusion in India. After that, we will discuss nuclear waste and types of nuclear waste and protection from nuclear energy radiation. Let's start with India's nuclear power program or the atomic energy program in India. The nuclear power program of the country was started under the pioneering leadership of Homi Jehangir Bhabha. He is considered as the father of India's atomic power program. Homi Jehangir Bhabha started his basic nuclear experiments in the year 1944 at Bombay in Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. Immediately after independence, the Government of India established Atomic Energy Commission in 1948. So, Atomic Energy Commission was established in the year 1948. What does it do? This Atomic Energy Commission frames the policies and plans for developing atomic energy in the country. The Department of Atomic Energy, established in the year 1954, is entrusted with the responsibility of implementing the atomic power program of the country. So, Atomic Energy Commission designs and frames the policies. Department of Atomic Energy, which was formed in 1954, executes or implements the atomic power program of the country. The Secretary to the Government of India in the Department of Atomic Energy is the ex officio chairman of the commission. Of which commission? Atomic Energy Commission. The Secretary is the ex officio chairman of the commission. The other members of Atomic Energy Commission are appointed every calendar year on the recommendation of the chairman and after approval by the Prime Minister. Okay, let's look at the objectives of India's nuclear power program. We will discuss around 10 objectives. Number 1 is increasing the share of nuclear power in total installed energy of the country. So, it is increasing the nuclear power share. Second objective is developing and expanding the nuclear reactors in according to the three-stage power program. So, developing and expanding the nuclear reactors. Third objective is production of radioactive isotopes and related technologies that have a role in agriculture, industry, medicine, and in water purification, not only with the objective of meeting to Indian needs, but also realizing the export potential of such technologies. Okay, what is the fourth objective? Expanding the number of pressurized heavy water reactors to increase the share of nuclear power energy in total installed energy of the country. What is the fifth objective? Speeding up the construction of new fast breeder reactors and also accelerating research in third generation advanced water reactors for a long term use of thorium utilization. India is rich with thorium. Our coasts are abundant and rich with thorium reserves. Okay, the sixth objective. Sixth objective is development of lasers, supercomputers, advanced materials, and their transfer to the industry for commercialization. Okay, development of new technology and then transfer it to industries for commercialization. Seventh objective, promoting research in basic nuclear sciences and developing strong research and development unit with relation to electronics and instrumentation. So, promoting research is the seventh objective. Eighth one is enhancing the production of heavy water by building and operating heavy water plants not only to meet the domestic demand but also to meet the export demands. Ninth objective, continuous survey and exploration of atomic minerals, efficient management of nuclear waste and reprocessing of spent fuel to develop an inventory of plutonium-239 and uranium-233 for second and third generation reactors. So, what is the ninth objective? Continuous survey and exploration of atomic minerals, efficient management of nuclear waste and reprocessing the spent fuel For what? Why we should reprocess the spent fuel? To develop the inventory of plutonium 239 and uranium 233 for second and third generation reactors. Okay. The 10th objective, increasing international cooperation for combined research as well as procuring uranium and relevant technologies, achieving long-term goal for development of reactors. Okay. The Government of India aims to achieve a target of 20,000 megawatts of nuclear energy by 2020. What is the target for Government of India by 2020 is to achieve 20,000 megawatts, and the long-term target of 60,000 megawatts by 2032 is the long-term target. Short-term target is 20,000 megawatts of nuclear energy by 2020, and the long-term target is 63,000 megawatts by 2032. Okay. But the Government of India has cut down to 22,480 megawatts by 2032 and 13,480 megawatts by 2024 because of current scenarios. To achieve this objective, Department of Atomic Energy is working through 5 research centers. We have discussed them earlier as well. What are the 5? We'll look at them. One is BARC, Baba Atomic Research Center. Next is IGCAR, Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research. After that, RRCAT, that is Raja Ramana Center for Advanced Technology. And then next is VECC, that is Variable Energy Cyclotron Center. And the last one is AMDER, that is Atomic Minerals Directorate of Exploration and Research. Plus 3 heavy industries like Heavy Water Board, Mumbai, Nuclear Fuel Complex in Hyderabad, Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology in Mumbai. Not only that, there are certain PSUs. One is Nuclear Power Corporation Limited of India. Where is it? In Mumbai. And then Uranium Corporation of India Limited, Jadugoda, Jharkhand. Indian Rare Earth Limited, where is it? Mumbai. Electronics Corporation of India, that is ECIL, where is it? Hyderabad. And Bharatiya Navikya Vidyut Nigam Limited, Kalapakam, Tamil Nadu, and many other institutes are helping or aiding to achieve our nuclear objectives, nuclear power objectives. So we have seen the journey of the nuclear power program in India started by Homi Jahangir Baba in the year 1944 at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and then Atomic Energy Commission was established after independence in the year 1948. Okay. Before independence itself, Homi Jahangir Baba, we have discussed that he wrote a letter to Tata, and then Tata helped him, and they have started this nuclear experiments in the year 1944 by establishing Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Mumbai. After that, post-independence, we have in the year 1948, Atomic Energy Commission was established, and 1954, Department of Atomic Energy was established. Atomic Energy Commission designs and frames a policy. Department of Atomic Energy implements the policies. Okay, we have seen the objectives like increasing the share of nuclear power, developing and expanding nuclear reactors, production of radioactive isotopes, not only to meet the Indian demands but also to realize the export potential. Next is expanding the pressurized heavy water reactors. Fifth objective was speeding up the construction of fast breeder reactors and utilization of thorium. Sixth objective is development of lasers, supercomputers, and modern technology and transfer it to industries for commercialization. Seventh is increase the research and development. Eighth objective is production of heavy water for domestic demand and export as well. Ninth one is continuous survey and exploration of atomic minerals. 10th one is increasing international cooperation. So with this, government has set up certain targets, and we have seen those targets, that is 20,000 megawatts for 2020. By 2022, it is 22,480. It is a revised target. Okay, there are a group of institutions and centers which coordinate and help India achieve this nuclear power program. What are those institutions? That is Baba Atomic Research Center, BARC, IGCAR, that is Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, Raja Ramana Center for Advanced Technology, Variable Energy Cyclotron Center, and then Atomic Minerals Directorate of Exploration and Research, Heavy Water Board Mumbai, Nuclear Fuel Complex Hyderabad, Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology Mumbai, and there are other PCUs like NPCL, Next is where is NPCL? Nuclear Power Corporation, Mumbai. And then Uranium Power Corporation of India Limited, it is in Jadugoda, Jharkhand. India Rare Earth Limited, that is Mumbai. Electronics Corporation of India Limited, ECIL, that is in Hyderabad. And Bharatiya Nabhikya Vidyut Nigam Limited, it's in Kalapakkam, Tamil Nadu, and many other institutes are there for achieving this objective. Okay, now let's see what is nuclear fuel cycle, and then what are the components of nuclear fuel cycle. We'll discuss with examples as well. Nuclear power program has a number of ancillary operations which form a nuclear fuel cycle. Okay, this cycle includes two operations. One is front end and back end operations. Okay, what are the front end operations of the fuel cycle? The operations under the front end fuel cycle are survey, exploration of minerals, mining, milling and processing of ore, fabrication of fuel. In addition, heavy water production is also an ancillary program. Institutes like BARC, AMDER, IREL, UCIL, Nuclear Fuel Complex, IGCAR. What is IGCAR? Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research. Heavy Water Board, where is it? You reply me in the comments below. Are involved in the above front end operations. What are the front end operations? Survey, exploration of minerals, mining, milling, processing of ore, fabrication of fuel, all these things. So there are back end operations as well in the nuclear fuel cycle. This back end operations comprise of spent fuel processing, nuclear waste management. Fuel reprocessing involves the processing of spent fuels and recycling of plutonium-239 and uranium-233 for power generation. The Department of Atomic Energy has a pilot plant for fuel reprocessing at Trombay and industrial scale plants at Tarapur and Kalapakkam. Two waste immobilization plants are operating at Tarapur and Trombay for nuclear waste management. Very important, remember them. For fuel processing, what are the back-end operations? Two operations are there, that is, the back-end fuel cycle are comprised of two things. What is that? Spent fuel reprocessing and nuclear waste management. Okay, fuel reprocessing involves processing of spent fuels and recycling of plutonium-239 and uranium-233 for power generation. Okay, then for prelims, what you have to remember? The Department of Atomic Energy has a pilot plant for fuel reprocessing at Trombay, Tarapur, Kalapakkam. Remember this. And then for nuclear waste management, what are the institutes? Two waste immobilization plants are operating at Tarapur and Trombay. So it's easy for you to remember. Okay. The facility for immobilization of waste in cement matrix has also been commissioned at Kalapakkam. Kalapakkam is in Tamil Nadu. I'll spell it KALPAKKAM. The Department of Atomic Energy recently developed vitrification process for nuclear waste management by indigenous technology and resources. This vitrification process is far superior than immobilization of waste in cement matrix. So this process actually involves the immobilization of nuclear waste in a glass matrix. Okay, we have seen nuclear fuel cycle. There are the front end. What is nuclear fuel cycle? The nuclear program has a number of ancillary operations. These operations combined form nuclear fuel cycle. This includes two cycles. One is front end fuel cycle. Other one is back end fuel cycle. Front end fuel cycle is surveying, exploration of minerals, mining, milling, processing of ore, fabrication of fuel. And the institutes involved are BARC, UCIL, Nuclear Fuel Complex, Heavy Water Board, IGCAR, IREL, and next is back end fuel cycle. This comprises spent fuel reprocessing and nuclear waste management. Okay, right. And the plants involved are for fuel reprocessing at Trombay and Tarapur, Kalapakkam. Whereas for waste immobilization, there are plants at Tarapur, Trombay. For immobilization of waste in cement matrix, it's done at Kalapakkam. And recently, DAE has developed vitrification process which is more efficient than immobilization of waste in cement matrix, because this is done in Immobilization is done in a glass matrix. Okay, let's go to the next topic, that is nuclear reactors and types of nuclear reactors. The energy released from nuclear reactions is called nuclear energy. The nuclear energy is released mainly from nuclear fission and nuclear fusion reaction. The devices which are used to produce nuclear energy mostly for civilian purposes, in which the nuclear reactions are carried out in controlled conditions, are also called atomic reactors or nuclear reactors. Wherever the reactions are occurring in a controlled manner for civilian purposes, that reactor is called atomic reactor or nuclear reactor. The uncontrolled reactions result in devastating energy. The uncontrolled nuclear fusion is the hydrogen bomb, whereas the uncontrolled fission reaction is an atom bomb. In 1942-43, Enrico Fermi, working at Chicago University, developed the first nuclear reactor that could control the nuclear fission reaction. Not fusion, it's fission. FISSION. Where does nuclear fusion occur? It occurs in the sun. Okay. Reactors are basically two types. One is research reactors, other one is power reactors. The research reactors are not used for commercial power generation, and can produce only nominal power. This type of reactors are usually used to carry out many experiments in basic nuclear sciences and for development of new nuclear technologies. They also help in generating radioisotopes and other technologies that have wide range of applications in medicine, industry, agriculture, food processing. India developed research reactors like Apsara, Cyrus, Dhruva, Kamini, and fast breeder test reactors. The next type is power reactors. These are mainly meant for generating commercial power. The power reactors are based on both fission and fusion. Fusion reactors are tokamak reactors. Remember, what are the fusion reactors called? Tokamak. I'll spell it TOKMAK reactors, which are technically toroidal magnetic chambers. TOROIDAL, toroidal magnetic chambers. Okay, now let's go to the next topic. Three-stage nuclear program of India, or you might get a question like explain the differences between the three stages of atomic power program of India. The Department of Atomic Energy is carrying out three-stage nuclear power program, which involves development and construction of three types of nuclear reactors. India's nuclear program is based on closed fuel cycle and long-term thorium utilization for sustained power generation. Homi Jehangir Baba envisioned India's nuclear power program to suit the country's low uranium and large thorium resources profile. See, you can understand how the vision of Homi Jehangir Baba was. He envisioned India's nuclear power programs to suit the country's low energy demand and the large thorium resources profile. Because we have large thorium reserves, it is sensible and smart to use our resources and to develop our thorium based technology. Okay, let's come to the stages of reactors. There are three stages. First stage is pressurized heavy water reactor, that is PHWR. Second stage is fast breeder reactors, that is FBR. Third stage is advanced heavy water reactors. So let us discuss in detail. A pressurized heavy water reactor, or the stage 1, is normally first model reactor in which heavy water is used as a moderator. Remember, heavy water, that is D2O, is used as a moderator. The core of the reactor consists of uranium rods surrounded by heavy water under high pressure. As the fission proceeds, the heat generated in the moderator is transferred to the coolant, which may be heavy water or normal water. As the coolant evaporates, the steam generated is carried over the steam to the turbines. As the coolant gets heated and it evaporates, the steam is generated, and this is carried to the steam turbine, and the rotation of the steam turbine generates power, which is then converted to electrical power. By connecting them to electrical generators, Finally, the electricity is utilized. The moderators used reduce the speed of the neutrons, whereas the control rods reduce the number of neutrons. Remember this. Moderator reduces the speed of neutrons, control rods reduce the number of neutrons. Okay. Pressurized heavy water reactor was the reactor of choice for first stage of the program. To gain operational experience, initially an atomic power station consisting of 2 boiling water reactors was set up at Tarapur, which is in Maharashtra, with the help of General Electric USA in 1969. The two reactors are the TPAS1, TAPS2. So first one is TAPS1, second one is TAPS2, and they are still working till date. Okay. The third reactor developed is the first pressurized heavy water reactor. It is called RAPS1, built with the help of Atomic Energy Canada Limited at Rawatbharta, Rajasthan in 1973. The first indigenously developed reactor was second unit running at Rawatbharta, that is RAPS2. This success followed commissioning of many reactors. Today the DAE has 22 reactors, including 2 boiling reactors with total capacity of 6,780 megawatts. The NPCIL is entrusted with the responsibility of construction and operation of pressurized heavy water reactors. Okay. In first stage reactors, generally natural or enriched uranium is used as a fuel. As the uranium-235 undergoes fission, small amount of non-fissile uranium-238 is irradiated, which changes into plutonium-239. This non-fissile uranium-238 is changes into plutonium-239. As plutonium-239 is also fissile material, the first stage reactors help us in developing the inventory of plutonium for second stage reactor. Such spent fuel can be reprocessed to generate plutonium-239 and can be used as a fuel in the second stage reactors. Thus, the first stage reactors help in building inventory of plutonium-239 useful for second stage. This is a procedure by which the non-fissile uranium-238 in the fuel rods can be utilized by changing into fissile plutonium-239. Okay, now let's go to the stage 2. Stage 2 is fast breeder reactor. The second stage of nuclear power generation involves setting up fast breeder reactors backed by reprocessing plants and plutonium-based fuel fabrication plants. The fast breeder reactors produce more fuel than they consume. Remember, fast breeder reactors produce more fuel than they consume. FBR can increase fuel utilization by about 60 times of what is possible with pressurized heavy water reactors. So, fast breeder reactors increase the fuel utilization by about 60 times. The Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research of DIE has started breeder program and was set up fast breeder test reactor at Kalapakkam in October 1985. This reactor, operating with indigenously developed mixed uranium plutonium carbide fuel, has achieved its technology objectives. Based on the experience gained with this reactor, IGCAR has completed detailed design and technology development of 500 megawatts prototype fast breeder reactors. A new company, Bharatiya Navikiya Vidyut Nigam Limited, which is also called Bhavani, BHAVINI, was established in the year 2003 for construction of fast breeder reactors. The second stage reactor, that is thorium, is introduced as a blanket material, which upon irradiation changes into fissile uranium-233. In this way, the fast breeder reactors help in developing the inventory of uranium-233 for using in third stage reactors. Okay, now let's look at third stage reactors. Third stage reactors are advanced heavy water reactors. India has the world's largest thorium reserves, around 11.39 million tons. How much is it? 11.39 million tons. India is the world's largest thorium reserve. Okay, thorium utilization is long-term core objective of Indian nuclear program, as envisioned by Homi Jehangir Bhabha. Thorium is the long-term core objective of Indian nuclear program for providing energy security on sustainable basis. The third stage is based on thorium-uranium cycle. The beginning has already been made by introducing thorium in a limited way in research reactors. For example, the research reactor Kamini, operating up to a nominal power of 30 kilowatts for neutron radiography of various materials at Kalapakam, it uses uranium 232 fuel derived from thorium. The fuel, what is the fuel derived from uranium? It is U233, that is U233. This fuel developed is reprocessed and fabricated indigenously. The Baba Atomic Research Center is engaged in developing 300 megawatts advanced heavy water reactor with the aim to develop expertise for thorium utilization and demonstrating advanced safety concepts. The overall physical design involving core configuration has been completed. So we have seen the nuclear stages or the nuclear power program stages in India. First stage is pressurized heavy water reactor. How are the stages mostly different? Based on the fuel used. Okay, there is first stage is pressurized heavy water reactor. The second stage is fast breeder reactor. Third stage is advanced heavy water reactor. Now let's go to the most interesting topic, that is applications of nuclear energy. You might get a question in an interview or in your mails. We will discuss this elaborately. So they might ask you a question like applications of nuclear energy in power production, defense, or in non-energy sectors like medicine, agriculture, food processing, water management. Okay, let's look into this in detail. So, application of nuclear energy in power production. Today, the Department of Atomic Energy operates 22 reactors. What is the total installed capacity? 6,780 megawatts. So, India has 22 reactors with a capacity of 6,780 megawatts. Nuclear power is safe, non-polluting, and do not release greenhouse gases. The cost of the fuel is very less when compared to the cost of construction of reactors. According to International Energy Agency, India has world's largest thorium reserves at 11.93 million tons. You can remember 12 million tons for your mains. In your prelims, you have to be precise. And hence can be used for long-term energy security. So let's look at the applications in defense. Nuclear energy helps in developing atomic weapons. This provides a minimum deterrence against the other nuclear powers. India has successfully conducted nuclear tests twice and proved to the world that it is a responsible nuclear power. The Pokhran Test 1 was carried out on May 18, 1974. Pokhran Test 1 is also called Smiling Buddha. Why Smiling Buddha? Because it is declared as peaceful. Okay, then they carried out another test at Pokhran, that is Pokhran 2, and there was a group of two tests carried out on 11th May and 13th May 1998 with the code names Shakti 1 and Shakti 2. So Pokhran 2 was a group test, one is Shakti 1 and Shakti 2. Shakti 1 was carried out on 11th May 1998 and Shakti 2 was carried out on 13th May 1998. A thermonuclear device was tested as a part of Shakti 1, which was based on nuclear fusion, which is important. Okay, India is estimated to have around roughly 150 atomic weapons. Can you guess how many Pakistan has? More or less than this? Surprisingly, Pakistan has 160 atomic weapons or nuclear weapons, but India's is much more powerful. How many do you think China has? China has around 300. That is double our capacity. Okay. USA and Russia have in thousands, so that is very different. India has proved to the world that it's responsible in nuclear power by committing to peaceful uses of atomic energy, but at the same time maintaining the minimum deterrence. So nuclear power acts as a deterrence. In fact, India did not sign both Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty and Non-Nuclear Proliferation Treaty. So India is not a signatory to Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty or Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, that is NPT. Okay, what are the applications of nuclear power in agriculture? There are many non-power applications of nuclear power energy. We'll look at nuclear agriculture. The Nuclear Agriculture Program of DAE focuses on radioactive technologies for developing high-yielding varieties and radio processing of food items, fertilizers, pesticides, and other related studies. These technologies are benefiting Indian farmers and traders. Baba Atomic Research Center, in collaboration with agriculture universities, has successfully developed high-yielding crop varieties. Of these, 39 varieties have been notified and released for commercial cultivation by Ministry of Agriculture. These include 20 oil seeds, one variety of jute, and one variety of rice. 17 varieties of pulses were already being released for commercial cultivation. Using micropropagation technology, Baba Atomic Research Center has standardized large-scale multiplication of pineapple and sugarcane. Which technology? Micropropagation technology. 2 patents were granted to BARC for the development of zinc-based biofertilizer formulations. Okay, BARC has successfully developed the green manure crop Sesbania rostrata that is proving highly cost-effective for small crops. A tissue culture-based protocol for rapid multiplication of some commercial cultivators of banana has been developed by BARC. This technology has been transferred to Maharashtra state as well. The BARC has also been made good progress in development of Acacia victoria, a plant suitable for desert areas. Acacia victoria is a plant which is suitable for desert areas. It is being developed by Baba Atomic Research Center. This provides firewood as well. Apart from growing in deserts, it also gives firewood. For wider deployment of technologies developed by organizations, DAE has set up interface with Ministry of Agriculture. Okay, now let's look at applications in food processing industry. A radiation processing plant was set up by Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology, that is BRIT, at Navi Mumbai for high dose radiation processing of spices. Krushak or Krushak KRUSHAK or Krushi Utpadan Samrakshan Kendra was set up by BARC near Nashik for low dose application of radiation for food preservation. So it mainly focuses on food preservation. So the plant established in Nashik, that is Krushak, this plant processes onions, pulses to enhance their shelf life. Considerable progress has been achieved in setting up the radiation processing plants in private sector. The first such plant was established at Kolkata and later in Haryana and Gujarat. Krushak has been recognized by United States Department of Agriculture as well. The Alfonso, which is and Kesar varieties of mango, exported to USA are treated with the help of cobalt 60 at Krushak. So whatever the mango varieties like Alfonso and Kesar, which these mangoes we export to USA, these are treated with cobalt 60 at Krushak or the Krushak plant in Nashik. Okay, let's look at nuclear medicine. Yes, it is used in medicine as well. The radioisotopes and their formulations developed by Department of Atomic Energy find applications in diagnosis, therapy, healthcare. BARC and BRIT. What is BRIT? Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology. Where is it? Navi Mumbai. Right. BARC and BIRT are the main centers for this nuclear medicine. Cesium 137 based on brachytherapy sources are routinely produced at BARC. Radiation sources of rice grain size containing 2 to 3 millicure of iodine 125 were produced for treatment of eye care at BARC. So iodine 125, it's small, it's very small, the size of a rice grain, is used in treatment of eye care. Okay. For the first time, this treatment was successfully tested at Shankar Nethralaya in Chennai. Okay. Apart from this, BARC has successfully developed radiation processed hydrogen gel that treats burns, wounds, leprosy, holmium 166, that is hydroxyapatite, and samarium hydroxy 153 apatite are radiopharmaceuticals used for treatment of arthritis. The Radiation Medicine Center, which is of BARC in Mumbai, is a major provider of radioimmunoassay. They provide these kits for measurement of hormones like thyroxine, enzymes, and others. Whereas the BART, that is Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology, supplies 43,000 consignments of radioisotopes and allied products and over 45,000 cold kits annually based on radiopharmaceuticals to nuclear medical centers and cancer hospitals all over the country. Till now, the RIA centers of BRIT at Bengaluru and Dibrugarh, Assam conducted 6,000 and 5,000 RIAs. What are these RIAs? Radio immunoassay tests respectively. Okay, let's look at the industrial applications of nuclear power. The studies conducted on BARC have immensely contributed to the detection and recharge condition of groundwater bodies. BARC expertise in gamma scanning is being used by major petrochemical industries in detecting the leaks in buried pipelines. Okay, a noteworthy study carried out by BARC include detection of leakage points in 350 km long natural gas pipeline. Imagine they can this technologies developed by BARC are used in detecting any leakage in the length of 350 km long natural gas pipelines. Amazing technology. Using radio tracing technologies, the leakage in heat exchange of Panipat refinery and Tamil Nadu Petro products and Chennai were identified. So the leaking was identified with radio tracing technologies. These techniques were also used in effective management of oil fields of ONGC. The gamma scanning technology developed at Trombay is used in troubleshooting of many industries in the country, which has resulted in minimizing production losses, which could be of order of several crores of rupees. So several crores have been saved. The radiation technology equipment manufactured by BRIT for use in industry include radiography cameras for detecting the internal defects of welding and casting. These radiography cameras detect internal defects in any casting or welding. Okay. Next, look at nuclear waste management. BRC has developed a number of desalination technologies based on the reverse osmosis, low temperature evaporation, and other technologies. The desalination unit, it's not waste, it's water management. The desalination unit based on reverse osmosis with a capacity of 800 cubic meter per day was commissioned at BARC and can produce potable water from seawater. A small 30 cubic meter per day brackish water reverse osmosis plant at Satlana village in Jodhpur district was established for providing water in villages. Now let's look at the next topic, that is nuclear fusion or tokamak reactor. Nuclear fusion reaction in which lighter nuclei combine to form heavier nuclei, overcoming their repulsive forces and releasing huge amount of energy in nuclear fusion. So the lighter nuclei combine to form heavier nuclei, thus they release huge amount of energy in the nuclear fusion. Since the nuclear fusion occurs at very high temperatures of water, they produce around million degree Kelvin. It is also called thermonuclear reaction. The nuclear fusion was first explained by Hans Bethe, H-A-N-S, Bethe, B-E-T-H-E. The energy of sun and stars based on such nuclear fusion. The kinetic energy of nuclei like deuterons, D-E-U-T-E-R-O-N, deuterons. The kinetic energy of the nuclei like deuterons can be sufficiently increased at temperatures of 1 to 2 million degree Kelvin for them to fuse. The fusing nuclei should overcome potential energy due to very high repulsive forces between them. So they have to overcome this due to this high repulsive forces. They have to overcome the potential energy. At such high temperatures, all atoms are completely ionized. There is a mixture of electrons and nuclei moving at a great speeds. The type of material consistently moving charged particles with equal number of negative and positive charges is called plasma. This charged mixture of electrons and nuclei which are moving at great speeds, this type of material consisting of charged particles with equal number of negative and positive charges is called plasma. The nuclear fusion under such conditions is termed as thermonuclear reactions. Such reactions can be used by producing weapons of mass destruction and often termed as hydrogen bomb. So, the atomic weapon produced through fusion is called atomic bomb. Hydrogen bomb. Fusion is through fusion it is called atomic bomb. The weapon produced through fusion is hydrogen bomb. The first stage of operation of these bombs is detonation created by atomic bomb based on uranium and plutonium. Such fissile material is embedded within an enclosure which contains deuterium, tritium and plutonium. Then let's look at this tokamak reactor. What does tokamak mean? T-O-K-M-A-K. Tokamak reactor is a Russian word for toroidal magnetic chamber. Toro, T-O-R-O, idal, I-D-A-L, magnetic chamber. So, tokamak reactor is a Russian word for toroidal magnetic chamber, also called as fusion reactor. Fusion reactor is nothing but tokamak reactor. The main objective of the fusion reactor is to hold the plasma generated for few hundreds of seconds and to use the energy generated for electricity generation. Okay, it is used for electricity generation, and the main objective of this is to hold the plasma. What is the principle? Then the core of the reactor is in the magnetic chamber, in which the strong magnetic fields confine the plasma generated due to nuclear fusion. It is a congregation of many transformers. In each transformer, two opposite strong magnetic fields are created with the help of electric flow. Such magnetic fields are used to confine the fusion plasma at very high pressure. Immediately the cooling system around the core evaporates. The cooling and the corresponding steam generated is used to run the steam turbines, which further connected to electricity generator that produces electricity. The formula is the same. Okay. Now let's go to the next topic, that is International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, or ITER. ITER is a tokamak reactor being built by international collaboration. It's a joint international R&D initiative program that aims to demonstrate scientific and technical feasibility of fusion power. So mainly focuses on fusion power through international cooperation. It is a tokamak reactor, that is fusion. So they are working on fusion power. So countries like USA, Japan, Russia, EU, Republic of Korea, China, India, all are collaborating in this project. The idea of such an international program originated in 1985 at Geneva during the Superpower Summit, when the President Mikhail Gorbachev of erstwhile USSR and French President Mitterrand proposed to US President Ronald Reagan about an international project for demonstration and realization of fusion power. So it is discussed way back in 1985. Okay, the ITER in Latin means the way. The way began as a collaboration between former Soviet Union, USA, Euratom and Japan. The conceptual designing was started in 1988, followed by engineering design in 1992. And the engineering design activities were successfully completed, and final design report was made available to ITER parties. Following the collapse of Soviet Union, Russia took its place. US temporarily withdrew in 1999 and returned back in 2009. So US does this. It comes out from World Health Organization recently, and in future it might return back as well. So in the same way, it withdrew in 1999 from this ITER, that is International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, and then again it rejoined in 2001. China and Republic of Korea joined ITER in 2003. The site for construction of ITER was officially announced at Cadarache in France. Cadarache. It's a place in France. Finally, when did we join? India joined as a complete member in the year 2005. ITER is tokamak, a Russian word for toroidal magnetic chamber. TOROIDAL magnetic chamber, in which strong magnetic fields they confine the plasma generated by nuclear fusion. It's a congregation of many transformers. In each transformer, two opposite strong magnetic fields are created with the help of electric flow. Such magnetic field is used to confine plasma at high pressure and high temperature. The main objective of ITER is to produce a tenfold return on energy, or nearing 500 megawatts of fusion power from 50 megawatts of input of heat generated. So, from a minimum input of 50 megawatts, the tokamak reactor, ITER aims to produce 500 megawatts of fusion power. Okay, the goal is to develop a viable fusion power reaction where ITER should produce more power than it consumes. ITER should implement and test the key technologies and processes needed for fusion power plants. The construction cost of ITER is estimated around 5 billion euros over 10 years, another 5 billion euros over 20 years. In 2006, the joint implementation agreement was signed by parties which established the ITER. According to this agreement, ITER organization owns this device and is responsible for all aspects like licensing procedure, hardware procurement, operation period, ultimately decommissioning of ITER at the end of its life. Okay, now let's look at the next topic, that is nuclear fusion in India, or what are the contribution of India to ITER. It can be either way. The Institute of Plasma Research, that is IPR, where is it? At Ahmedabad, is involved in developing fusion technology. I'll repeat, this is important, remember. The Institute of Plasma Research is involved in developing fusion technology. Where is this Institute of Plasma Research, or IPR? Is at Ahmedabad, Gujarat. The IPR in fact developed India's first tokamak reactor, Aditya, in 1989. Another tokamak reactor was also being indigenously built on the lines of Aditya. A small tokamak reactor has been imported from Toshiba, Japan, for Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics in Kolkata. The IPR, Institute of Plasma Research, is involved now in the construction of steady state superconducting tokamak, or SST1, on the line of Experiment Advanced Superconducting Tokamak of China, which is further larger tokamak dubbed as Artificial Sun. This tokamak 1, or SST1, SST, steady state superconducting tokamak 1. Okay, so India's participation in ITER. India is contributing equipment worth nearly $500 million to experiment, and will also participate in subsequent operations and experiments. India will be fabricating a stainless steel cryosat which forms the outer vacuum envelope of the ITER. So, what will India be providing? 500 million euros, dollars, and a cryosat, which is stainless steel fabricated, which acts as the outer vacuum envelope of the ITER. India's contribution to ITER are largely based on indigenous experience and expertise available in Indian industry. Okay, now let's look at the next topic, that is types of nuclear waste and the methods to manage the nuclear waste as well. The waste generated from a variety of nuclear activities around the world constitute nuclear waste. Nuclear waste consists of the waste generated in the core of a reactor as well as discarded equipment after nuclear operation. So, whatever has been generated after nuclear operations and from the core of the reactor is nuclear waste. This is basically divided into two types: low level nuclear waste, and second one is high level nuclear waste. This low level nuclear waste mainly consists of discarded radiation suite, filter cloth, cover, or cooling water pipes, etc. They constitute more than 95% of the total nuclear waste generated around the world. But this nuclear waste has radioactivity of at 3% of the total nuclear waste. So, in mass, in number, it is 95% come in the nuclear waste, but the radiation is only at 3%, that's why it's called low level nuclear waste. The second one is high level nuclear waste. It is the spent fuel. which is used in the core of the reactor after power production. Such high-level waste comprises of radioactive nuclides which emit harmful radiation. The high-level waste comprises just around 3% of the total radioactive waste generated in the world, but more than 95% of the total radioactivity. Okay. So, how to manage this nuclear waste? It involves methods like short-term storage and long-term storage and transmutation. The short-term storage of nuclear waste reduces its amount considerably because it degrades exactly into half with the first half-life. The degradation of remaining half takes place at many half-lives, hence had to send for long-term storage. The short-term storage generally involves immobilization of nuclear waste in cement matrix as well as immobilization in glass matrix, and later storing in deeper parts of the earth, so that when this is done in the short-term storage, the half-life is reduced to half and in the short-term storage, and then it is sent to long-term. After this short-term, the leftover materials is less and can be managed by stable long-term storage. In long-term storage, many methods are being proposed. One method is to find a very stable and a deeper geological formation. Another method proposed is extraterrestrial storage, like storing in Moon, Mars or other asteroid objects. Then the third method of nuclear waste management is transmutation. This is the method of converting radioactive into non-radioactive elements. This requires development of reactors and advanced technologies. Okay. So, there are two types of nuclear waste, that is low level nuclear waste and high level nuclear waste. Radiation of low level is at 3%, radiation of high level nuclear waste is at 95%. How the management of nuclear waste is through three methods: short term storage, that is immobilization in nuclear waste cement matrix or glass matrix, and long term storage is in storing in moon, geological formations of the earth, underground. And transmutation is changing or converting the radioactive material into non-radioactive materials using reactors and advanced technologies. Okay, and finally we'll see the protection from nuclear radiation. There are generally four ways to protect from harmful nuclear radiation. One is limiting the exposure, second one is distance, third one is shielding from nuclear radiation, fourth one is containing the radiation. Okay, limiting the time of exposure in the occupational situations that the radiation dose is received by the body can be reduced by limiting the exposure time. So, basically we reduce the exposure time. Third is distance. The intensity of radiation impacts always decreases with the distance from source. So, the far off from the nuclear plant, the radiation is less. So, that is why they need to be established 30-40 kilometers away from minimum distance away from human habitations. Third is shielding, that is barriers of lead, concrete, aluminum or even water give good protection from high levels of penetrating radiation such as gamma rays. Third one is containment. Highly radioactive materials are confined and kept out of workplace and environment. Nuclear reactors operate within the closed systems with multiple barriers which keep the radioactivity contained. Okay, with this we will recap the entire lecture. We have started with atomic energy program, and when was it started? It was started before independence in 1944 by Homi Jahangir Bhabha at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and then 1948 after independence we have started Atomic Energy Commission, and then Department of Atomic Energy, DEC. Well, when was it started? Sorry, Department of Atomic Energy was started in the year 1954, right? We have seen the objectives. What are the objectives? Increasing the share of nuclear power, expanding the nuclear reactors, production of radioactive isotopes, expanding the pressurized heavy water reactors, transferring the technology for the commercial to industries, increasing research in nuclear sciences, enhancing production of heavy water for domestic and export needs, international cooperation. We have seen that, and then we have seen nuclear fuel cycles. Under that we have discussed front-end fuel cycle and back-end fuel cycles. Okay, and then we have seen what is a nuclear reactor, and then the two types. There are two types of reactors. One is what happens in a nuclear reactor. The nuclear reaction happens in a controlled fashion. There are two types, one is research reactors, other one is power reactors. In India, research reactors are Apsara, Cyrus, Dhruva, Kamini and fast breeder test reactor. There are many power reactors as well. These are meant for using generating commercial power. And then we have seen the stages of nuclear power program. We have seen what is the objective of this program is to suit the country's low uranium and large thorium resource profile. Based on which we will build our nuclear power generation program. There are three stages: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Stage 1 is pressurized heavy water reactors. Stage 2 is fast breeder reactors. Stage 3 is advanced heavy water reactors, where we will use thorium. After that, we have seen applications in power production, defense. We have seen about Pokhran 1 and Pokhran 2. Pokhran 2 we have tested Shakti 1 and Shakti 2. Under Shakti 1, as a part of which we have tested about nuclear fusion. India has around 150 atomic weapons, nuclear weapons, whereas Pakistan has 160 and China has around 300. UK and US combined have around nearly 3800. Okay, the applications in agriculture, we have seen in agriculture, rice has been developed, oil seeds have been developed, and in food processing, cobalt is used in food, for exporting mango varieties like Kesar and Alfonso by treating them at Krushak plant. And then we have seen nuclear medicine. After that, industrial applications, use of gamma scanning technology developed in Trombay. Okay, next we have seen nuclear water management. A desalination unit is established at Satlana village in Jodhpur. 30 cubic meters of brackish water per day is being converted to drinking water or potable water through reverse osmosis technique. And then we have seen nuclear fusion and tokamak reactor. Tokamak is toroidal magnetic chamber. It's a Russian bird. After that, we have seen ITER, International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor. It's an international collaboration like USA, EU, Japan, Russia, Republic of Korea, China, India. When did India enter into it? In 2005. After that, we have seen what are the types of nuclear waste. There are two types. One is low level and high level nuclear waste. And how to manage this nuclear waste? It is through short term storage, long term storage, and transmutation. What is transmutation? Converting radioactive material into non-radioactive material. And then how can we protect ourselves? By maintaining a distance, minimum of 30 to 40 kilometers from human habitations. Limiting the time of exposure, and then building shields across the nuclear power projects, and then finally maintaining a containment. Okay, thank you for listening. We'll end our lecture today. If you have any doubts and queries, you can mail us to biasacademy@gmail.com. Have a great day.